Bat Force Radio.
This is Frank Miller.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
Listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio, episode 344. We've got Grandpa Batman in Texas.
How did we get here? 344 episodes. That's amazing.
I'm not sure where here is. I was hoping you had some information for me. I'm Robin Cross in Canada, and this week's returning guest, you've heard him here to talk about Generation Joker, Bloody Hell, most recently some Undead Hog. And the time before that, he was on with Ricardo Lopez Ortiz to talk about their, at that point, digitally released comic, Hardstyle Juice, which is now published in a physical form from ABLAZE. This is Clay McCormack. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for having me back. I do have to say, though, I feel like I know where I stand with you guys now, because Frank Miller shows up and Robin finally shows his face. And then I come back and it's back to the icon.
Hey, it's better for everybody this way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I finished eating dinner like 3 minutes before we got on. So I probably have food on my face. So that's better for me.
Yeah, sorry to let everybody down as a follow-up from Frank Miller, but I'll do my best.
No, sir.
Hey, no letdown at all. You're always the most fun.
I'm happy to make up a Neil Adams story or two if you need me to.
Well,
did you have a Neil Adams experience?
Actually, yes, I do have a Neil Adams experience.
And it's not made up?
No, it's not. It's real. I was, I guess you could say, smart enough or cowardly enough to never have him actually look at my work because I had heard the stories. But I happened to be at a small convention where he didn't have his labyrinth of print tables. It was just him and a normal table. So I stopped by and I was kind of looking at some of his stuff. And I was like, oh, these are all, he had a lot of prints that are drawings of like the guy from The Walking Dead, Rick from The Walking Dead, and a lot of like really kind of photorealistic looking stuff, but it still was clearly Neil Adams's work.
Right.
And I said to him, I was like, so how do you get your likenesses so good? And he just went, I trace. And I was like, oh, what? He's like, well, yeah. What's wrong? There's nothing wrong with tracing. And the thing he said to me that was the most interesting piece of information I got from it was the people are paying for the mistakes that you make when you're trying to do a likeness. So basically you're tracing, but you're never going to just stop at the trace. You know, you're always going to go in and you're always going to touch it up and make it your own. And that's what the people are paying for. They're not paying for a traced drawing of Rick Grimes. They're paying for those little mistakes and those little quirks in your artwork that make it a Neil Adams piece or somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, I have some Walking Dead from him. And I was very surprised when I was at his booth and saw The Walking Dead. I mean, it was very popular during that time. But I was like, man, I didn't think you'd be interested in even drawing this, but
it sells, so I think he was interested in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. So how are things going?
Good. Yeah, the book Hardstyle Juice just came out in print finally after it was supposed to come out last year, but the the implosion of the direct comics market distribution center kind of made things a little bit trickier, but it's finally out and it looks great. And I'm very excited about having something to hand people at a convention, because this might surprise you, but selling a digital comic at a convention is not easy.
Hey, it's less stuff to carry around, but I've got you're gonna have to take my word. I don't know if you can hear this. This is my copy flopping around right here.
Okay. Sounds great. I mean, if
Yeah,
it's
I've got
if
my
it looks
copy right here.
if it looks half as good as it sounds, people are in for a
Yeah.
treat.
Well, the sound is half the battle. Most people don't realize that the hierarchy of a good comic goes sound,
Mhm.
smell, and then how it looks.
That's always how I think when I write too. So
There you go. How's this one gonna sound when it's flopped around on a podcast?
exactly.
On a moderate quality podcast.
Yeah, that and how much it hurts if you drop it on your foot.
Oh, yeah, that's the big. I just got a copy of Big Damn Sin City,
Oh
the
boy,
huge hardcover version of all of it. That thing's 11 pounds.
oh my God.
Yeah.
That's not even a joke. I put it on a scale.
How are you supposed to read that on the toilet?
It's tricky. There's a learning curve to it.
And that's no comment on Sin City. That's just all of these omnibus books. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know how you're supposed to practically read them while you're in the bathroom, which is, I assume, where most people read them.
Yeah, and what's crazy is how popular compendiums are these days. Walking Dead is all collected in compendiums. Invincible these days is how we primarily sell Invincible to new readers. Like the
Now, what
quantity of
exactly
people getting on it.
what exactly is a compendium? I see that word around, but a lot, but I don't know if I actually know what it is.
It's the paperback edition that looks like a phone book. So, like the Invincible one, for example, it collects the first 8 volumes of the trade paperback into one book. But the pricing is why it works so well. It's almost half the price of if you bought the 8 volumes by itself.
Oh wow. Okay, sure.
Or you can skip Invincible because you've already watched the animated series and go grab a copy of Hardstyle Juice.
There you go.
It's nice and easy to read. You don't have to worry about anything.
And I would say it probably costs 1/8 of if you bought the first 8 volumes of Invincible. So that's pretty good too.
Where can readers find the trade volume of Hardstyle Juice?
I mean, you can get it from your local store. They can order it if they haven't already, or you can head over to hardstylejuice.com and that'll send you directly to the Amazon landing page where you can buy the trade, or you can read it digitally if that's your if that's how you get your freak on with your comics. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can read it digitally for free, I believe.
Now, just to recap for our listeners, Hardstyle Juice is Clay's story about a family that is in the wrestling business, and the star son, Ray Castro, is killed in a match in, spoiler alert, issue 1. But that's in the sequence, the whole family story about saving their wrestling business and also his cause of death. I wanted to ask,
which could be murder.
Which could be murder. What was it like writing mystery? What is your secret or tips for writing good mystery?
Well, so the biggest question that I had for myself as I was getting into this was where in the story Ray's death was going to happen, because I think that really kind of changes the way people interact with the story and the story that you're telling. I had originally thought maybe he would be dead already when the book starts, or maybe it would be the first thing that happens. Because my kind of signpost for this story was Twin Peaks, in that the death of Laura Palmer, while important, is more of a what's the word, is used as an entryway into this community with these people who all have their own customs and their own quirks and whatnot. And it's like the solving the murder is kind of secondary to learning about these people and learning about Laura herself and all that kind of stuff. Right. And so that really interested me as far as Hardstyle Juice goes, because the thing that drew me the most to doing this book was the lived culture of professional wrestling by the people who do it. And so it was always the murder, the death was always sort of just a lead in to get you introduced to this world with their own, that has its own lingo and all these different characters and stuff. And I of course I wanted it to be interesting, and I wanted the mystery to be engaging. But yeah, that kind of was the big question for me. And one of the things, as you know, as you mentioned it as you were describing it, I found it difficult to talk about unless I mentioned the fact that Ray dies. Even though it happens at the end of the first issue, I kind of assumed it would be a bit of a surprise. But then I realized, well, it's really difficult to talk about if I don't kind of use that as a hook. And so I would say the other thing that stood out to me, or the other lesson that I learned, not just for mysteries, but for anything you're writing, really, is you kind of need to have two hooks. You need to have the hook you can put in the pitch, and then the second hook that they're not expecting. So you can lead with wrestler dies in the ring as the sort of thing to get people's, interest to peak, but you have to have something else in there. And hopefully I do. You have to have something else in there that is interesting enough and comes as a novel introduction to the story enough that it works as its own twist or surprise or something. So you're not just coming into this murder mystery and it's all just flat sort of, well, maybe it was this guy, let's go talk to this guy. Well, maybe it was, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be something else in there that keeps things moving.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that you made the right decision letting us meet him in issue 1 before he was killed. So it just lets you get to get in there, and you feel like, okay, this is the character we're going to follow. And then it's not, but you got to connect with him and see how he connected with his family, and what he was to the family business.
Yeah, and it so much of the story is about the fallout of his death and how it affects the other family members and the business that they run and all of the other wrestlers, that I thought it was important to make sure we spent some time, especially with him and Mona, his sister, who becomes the kind of the de facto main character of the story. So you have some sort of familiarity or their relationship. You understand their relationship and how much her older brother means to her and all that kind of stuff. So when you take that away, you can see the hole that's left when he's gone.
Now, you've been doing some signings since the book came out. Recently, we're at what was that? Hall of Comics?
Yep, I was at Hall of Comics last week, I think. It's a little mixed up in my head because both of the signings that I was doing ended up getting moved. So I can't exactly remember where. I think that, Hall of Comics was last week, and then I'll be at Boston Fan Expo Boston this coming weekend, where I'll have copies of the book, among other things. I actually I didn't even know I was getting this, but today I got a box of paperback editions of Generation Joker, which is nice. So I'll have those. Wow. Yeah. And then the following weekend, I'll be at That's Entertainment in Worcester, Massachusetts, doing a signing.
Perfect. That's a perfect segue into my questions, because I was going to ask, as we get into con season, what were your plans for the summer? Are you doing New York?
No, I am 1 for 17 when it comes to getting a table in New York.
Okay.
Which feels like some kind of record. Yeah, now I'm not bitter about it or anything, because that doesn't help. It's just every time it comes around again, and it's like, I got rejected again. It's like, of course, and I just kind of brush it off and kind of I like making light of the streak I'm on.
Is there like a bidding process for that? How does that work?
It is a curated show, so it's not like first come first serve. So everybody who applies to the show is then they're chosen from, and they have their own system, and it is what it is. So
Very cool. So
But
you're
I was
Fan
in
Expo Boston this
Yep.
upcoming weekend.
Yep, this August 8th, the weekend of August 8th, I'll be in Fan Expo Boston. I did Denver for the first time last month, which was really nice. I hadn't been out there before. Got to spend the night at the Stanley Hotel, the hotel from The Shining, which was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll be doing Wicked Comic-Con in Boston in October.
Nice.
And I think that might be it for the year. I'm actually thinking one of my goals for this year that I haven't been able to hit yet is I want to do a couple horror shows just to try something out, try something different. So I think next year I might try a little bit harder now that I kind of know which ones are around to see if I can hit a horror show or two. Because I've got a sketchbook that I've been selling of
Undead Hog.
Yeah, yes. 26 drawings. It's a flip book, actually. 26 drawings of, yeah, you know how they have those prints of like all the phases of the moon? It's like that, but it's only a giant undead penis. No,
page 15, the waxing gibbous is
exactly.
impressive.
Yes, thank you. No, I do this drawing exercise where I take a subject and I'll do 26 drawings based on a letter of the alphabet of the subject. And the last set that I did were all movie monsters. So I've got a sketchbook of 26 drawings of different movie monsters that I put together that I'll have at the shows with me. And I figured, you know what, that's probably something that people at horror shows might be into. So I figured I'd give it a shot to try something different.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I heard you saying on your show on Badass with Sean that you liked the feel of horror shows.
Yeah, it's so laid back. Like horror fans are just like so chill, and it's always, you know, the people into the weirdest stuff who are the nicest. I don't know why that is. But yeah, like heavy metal fans and horror fans are always just the coolest people. No offense, guys. But yeah, it was I like the vibe, and yeah, I just wanted to try something different, you know, because comic shows are comic shows. Horror shows are very similar, but, you know, it's a little bit of a step to the left and maybe a jump to the right. But yeah, just to try something else.
Now, another thing, going back to the Badass show that you do with Sean, for anyone that isn't aware, Clay has a podcast that he does called the BATASS podcast with Sean Murphy, co-creator, creative partner that you guys have worked together over the years. For anyone who isn't aware, if you're a fan of Sean Murphy's work and don't know if you want to check out Hardstyle Juice, keep in mind that Clay is the guy that Sean Murphy enlists to, you know, I don't want to overstate it, but definitely comes to you for a lot of his creations, the Zorro stuff, all the White Knight stuff, more recently Last Driver. So if you don't know Clay's work yet, then take it from that someone as successful as Sean Murphy, this is the guy he leans on as a creative partner.
Yeah, you know, we've been working together since the first volume of Batman White Knight, and you know, yeah, I don't want to overstate it or anything, but you know, I work with him. He's I'm sort of the sounding board for a lot of his ideas, and a bit of a content editor. And then on the upcoming book he's doing, The Last Driver, and on Zorro, I was the official editor. So yeah, we've been working together off and on for almost 10 years now.
And some of the specific examples of things that you guys talked about on that most recent episode of Badass, which it had been a while since you guys had done an episode.
Yeah, over a year.
You can hear how much your input does really help shape what he decides to do and to not do.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I will definitely clip this out for the eventual lawsuit, but but yeah, you know, I'm just there to help. You know, I love kicking around ideas, and you know, he and I kind of have very overlapping circles on the Venn diagram there. So it's always fun to and I mean, you know, when someone of Sean's stature comes to you and says, hey, do you want to help me kick around some ideas for a Batman book? What am I going to say? No.
Yeah, come on. And another good reason to go check out the most recent episode of Clay and Sean's podcast. Find out the backstory on why Sean used to be called Muffin.
Yes. Not by me. That was well before I met him, but yes.
Fun times.
Yeah. That was the first show we did in over a year. I don't know if we're gonna do more. We kind of, so for that episode we covered a couple episodes of Justice League Unlimited, when traditionally we had done all of Batman the Animated Series and all of Batman Beyond, and some of the, you know, ancillary one-off episodes here and there that feature those characters. And there were, as Sean was going through Justice League Unlimited, because he's starting up on the next volume of White Knight that's going to be Justice League involved. He came across a couple episodes that were a Batman Beyond crossover where modern day Batman ends up meeting old man Bruce and Terry in the future, and it was a good excuse to dust off the podcast and talk about that, as well as talk about Last Driver and a little bit about a Hardstyle Juice. So yeah, it was fun. It was, you know, it's always been a fun show to do, and I'm always happy to hear when people enjoy listening to it.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Thanks.
Still waiting for our invitation, but you know, we understand.
You know,
I'm just kidding, man.
You know, I feel like guests are, it's just such a weird thing, because I feel like you either got to do guests all the time or none of the time.
Right.
Just, I don't know. It's, you know, on the
I
horror.
I don't think I ever heard a guest on Badass.
We did a couple guests on Badass after I did my Kickstarter for Bloody Hell, because one of the reward tiers was to be a guest host on the show. And actually, one of the people who ended up on there with us is now a pretty prolific comic book artist in his own right. Travis Mercer works at with DC. Yeah,
I know Travis.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So that was fun, and we've only done it a few times. The horror show that I do, called the Rotten Horror Picture Show, we've only done once or twice. We have a running thing with my co-host from the Star Trek show I used to do, where he comes on to do Nightmare on Elm Street, even though he doesn't like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. So we drag him out every now and then, but that's about it. Because, you know, it can get, as I'm sure you guys know, it can get complicated when you're trying to bring people in and et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah. Now I wanted to go back to something we passed over with Hardstyle Juice. Now,
sure.
The final story page, like, there's extra stuff in the back, but on the last story page, it does say end of volume 1.
Yep.
Do we have Insight volume 2? Anything to be known about it yet?
No, that was kind of a negotiating tactic on my part.
Gotcha. Say no more.
Yeah, no, maybe that's not the right word. So I never intended to end the story in the first volume. You know, much again, harkening back to Twin Peaks, I kind of feel like I had always wanted this to be something a little bit more ongoing, and if you tie up all the threads immediately, then it really hampers the propulsion of the story. And so I wanted to make sure that the stuff that you get closure on was satisfying, but not necessarily didn't answer every question, and maybe brought up some new questions, with an eye on hopefully continuing the story down the road. And so me putting the end of on that page saying the end of volume 1, I did very specifically because I wanted to I wanted people to ask that question, basically. So
Clever. And I wanted to ask, there are Easter eggs throughout the book, like wrestling stuff tucked in there. Like the one freshest in my memory, because it's right at the end, is it's a list of matches scribbled out in a book, and like it says, like one of the ones listed there is Brett versus Austin. So of all of the Easter eggs and stuff that you got to put in, do you have any favorites?
That's tough. So a lot of those visual Easter eggs come directly from Ricardo. That one in the book, I think might have been like I think those might have been a combination of us, because I think I made some suggestions or something, and then he just kind of went with it. I tend to my Easter egg, I giggle at the Easter eggs that I put in where it's kind of dialogue that I like from other things. And the first time Mona as wrestler Chris Castro confronts the guy in the parking lot, she pretty closely recites dialogue from Wyatt Earp and Tombstone. And it's that kind of stuff that I like. That's what tickles me more than anything else. And the influence of Twin Peaks is all over it. Like, a lot of the characters are named sort of like slightly to the left of Twin Peaks characters. Like the kid who works at the bar is named Joey Packard, which is similar to the woman who owns the lumber mill in Twin Peaks. And the de facto villain, quote unquote, is Jack Renault, which is an English version of Jacques Renault, which is a villain character from Twin Peaks. So stuff like that. I always have fun doing stuff like that.
And we can clip that out for the eventual lawsuit as well.
Yeah, damn it. Hey, I learned from Vanilla Ice. You just got to change one small thing, and you're free and clear.
You're free and clear.
Yeah,
good to go.
Yeah. I don't know why this reminded me of it, but not that you put self-referential quotes in there. But are either of you watching House of the Dragon?
No.
Yes.
So Matt Smith is the sort of a co-main character through it, and a couple of weeks ago he made what had to have been, and possibly was, I don't know if he just ad-libbed it himself, but he quoted himself from Doctor Who.
Did he yell Geronimo while he was riding a dragon?
That would have been fantastic. But there's a scene where they're in a room, and one of the underlings, who is kind of been made the treasurer recently.
Oh yes.
He's getting a little bit lippy, and Matt Smith's character looks at him and says, "You think you're clever, don't you? I'm the clever one around here." And it's almost a direct quote of a Doctor Who episode.
Nice.
With Strax. I don't know if either of you ever watched much Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, but I love Matt Smith's Doctor Who. He's my favorite Doctor.
He says to Strax, "Don't be clever. I'm the clever one. You're the potato one."
I actually
hear him set that up. It was great.
I actually just remembered what my favorite Easter egg is. It's a very specific one. There's a scene where Mona is walking home listening to a podcast, and
you shouldn't have. You threw us in there.
Yeah, well, yeah. She's listening to a podcast, and you can see that the text of the podcast she's listening to, and it's a business podcast. And I needed her to be listening to something, and part of her character is that she has an eye out the door. She doesn't want to be part of the wrestling world. She wants to go to college. She wants to get a business degree. So, she's listening to this podcast. She's getting ready to go to college. And I was like, well, I don't want to just make up a bunch of business nonsense that I don't know anything about. Like, what should I do here? And at the time I was writing it, my wife was getting her MBA. And one of the things that she had to do, I've learned that grad school seems to be a lot of like special projects and like diorama building, which was surprising to me. But this one particularly was she had to record an episode of a podcast. And so she teamed up with my friend, a friend of ours who is a negotiator for a large company. And they did an episode of a podcast that they called Legitimate Business. And so the text in that sequence in those bubbles is actually a transcript from their little podcast that they did for her MBA program.
That's very cool. And that makes a lot more sense than what I was suggesting.
Hey man, play your cards right. I do have Sean's ear. Maybe we can work something out for the next volume.
Hey. Ooh, we could get a second, possibly accidental reference. There was one that happened purely by coincidence, but we'll claim credit for it.
Oh, really?
Cliff Chang a few years ago did a Catwoman book for DC on Black Label called Lonely City.
Oh yeah, great book.
And one of the scenes, there's some characters in what is like basically a Batman collectibles store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so two of these kids are checking out shoes that are in there, and they're like, in story, they're like these vintage Batman sneakers.
Oh,
and they're
I see where this
to
is
find them
going.
because they're rare. And the shoes are called Bat Force Ones.
Yep, very nice.
Yep, we'll take that.
We are Sean and I are still trying to pull off the ultimate self-referential Easter egg, which is to somehow find a way to work in the the character we created on our podcast called the Brand Manager into an actual Batman story. Because as we were watching Batman the Animated Series, we kept joking about how all of these villains show up fully formed with like henchmen and like matching clothes and stuff. There must be a guy that they go to that they get all this stuff from. And so we created this character called the Brand Manager, who's like he's a really like cigar smoking kind of guy. But if you need a suit that's half white and half polka dot, he's the guy to go to. Like that's and we kicked it around long enough that we were like, we should put this in a book, and we just haven't found the time to do it, or the space rather.
Yeah, that's a fun space for a character to be used. Like it reminds me of it's not the same thing, but a character that I wish we would see show up. He gets referenced in the video games a bit. The Broker.
Oh yes.
So like the Broker is the guy that when one of the baddies needs to purchase an abandoned factory for their nefarious purposes, like how do they always have these buildings and all these properties to that Batman has to figure out where they are.
Yeah.
So this is the guy who sets all of that up.
Did you guys ever read Batman Secret Files, those one-off books?
I might have read one of them, but I can't remember.
They were always like origin type based stories about how this person came to be or stuff like that. And I remember this story, and I've been looking for this book for years now. And the story was about kind of like what you've been talking about. How do these villains get their suits? How do they get their wardrobe and stuff? And the basis of the story was this seamstress made these villains costumes, but she had a strict ultimatum that you had to show up at this time and leave, because the next rogue or next person was coming to pick up what they needed. I cannot find this book, but I know I've read it. I was hoping maybe you guys remembered it.
No. Yeah, the hook that I added to this character that I thought was really fun was in White Knight, the Joker is a big Batman fanboy, and Sean does lots of these pages where it's like surrounded with Batman merchandise and shirts and all this kind of stuff. And I always find that stuff funny, where it's like, who's making this stuff? And so the Brand Manager actually owns the trademark for the bat symbol, because Bruce Wayne was never going to come out of hiding to file it himself. So all of these licensable items that's his above board business, is selling Batman merchandise that he owns the trademark to. So
that's such a clever character.
Thanks. And so the underground business is selling suiting up and providing warehouses, and because that's the other thing, he owns all of the warehouses, and then he looks forward to giving them to the villains, because then they get destroyed and he gets all the insurance money. So he's got a whole thing worked out on how to make money off of this and keep his hands clean while he does it.
And he knows Batman's going to fight him, so that just helps the above ground branding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perpetual money making machine. Awesome.
Yeah, not only a clever character, but you can see how perfectly that would fit into specifically the White Knight universe.
Right. Yeah.
With
I tried to
already there with the Batman Devastation Fund or whatever that was called.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I the closest we got so far is I did write my first draft of the outline for Red Hood, featured him kind of prominently, because I had written in that after Jason Todd escapes from the Joker, the last thing that he does before he skips town to leave Gotham is he sells his Robin costume to the brand manager, who then has it in his store as like basically the capitalist version of how Batman keeps it in the Batcave. He's got it in a nice collectible case up in his store. This is Robin's actual costume. And so my intention was, when Jason's protege becomes Robin, that becomes her Robin suit. So just, kind of that kind of thing. But we didn't end up going in that direction, obviously. But that was the first way I managed to try and sneak him in, but it didn't quite work.
I wanted to circle back to Hardstyle Juice.
Yeah.
We all know, we've talked with you before, your love for like WWE wrestling. Do you like other sports like MMA? And have you thought of any way to bridge that into a comic?
Honestly, I haven't. I've never really been an MMA guy, but I feel like I've seen a few. I feel like MMA shows up in comics more than wrestling does, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do a wrestling book, was because, at least at the time, I feel like there's a bunch of them now, but at the time there weren't really a lot of pro wrestling comics that were original stories that were about wrestling more than they were about whatever. Like usually it's either a biographical book about like Ric Flair or some other actual person telling like road stories or something. Or it's the wrestling tends to be like a sort of a framing device for whatever the other story is, and they never really get into the using the world of wrestling, which is so interesting and full of so many interesting quirks and different kind of personalities, that I felt there was an opportunity there. And then Daniel Warren Johnson came in and stole it from us. But after he did it, and I realized that we weren't exactly telling the same story, I was like, okay, I think there's still room for more than one book here. But there's and obviously Do a Powerbomb is fantastic. I can't recommend that book enough. But yeah, so that's kind of what I was looking at. I had thought about doing, I had been talking to someone, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was you guys. And they told me that sports manga does really well.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was trying to kick around some ideas, and I was thinking, I'm a big hockey fan. That's probably my favorite sport. And I was thinking, I might have I could probably get a hockey story, but then of course Heated Rivalry beat me to that one. So,
well, with being such a big hockey guy, why haven't we seen you out here at the Toronto Fan Expo? Got the Hockey Hall of Fame there.
Yeah, that's a good. I for some reason I haven't got out to Toronto yet. Just for a convention or otherwise. I was in Ottawa for a vacation in January. It was a vacation for me. My wife and her friends were doing a triathlon that included skating on the canal in Ottawa, and which was super, super fun. It was the coldest I've ever been in my life, but it was very fun.
Yeah, maybe we can see you out one of these years at our fan expo. Sean's out there some years.
Yeah, I would love to do it. I mean, I think it would. When do you usually have it? What month is it usually?
It's well, like it is this month. It is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Last weekend of the month. I think it's the 27th to the 30th. I think.
Okay.
Let me confirm that.
Maybe I'll see if I can
get
get
up
there.
Yes, always tail end of August.
Okay. Maybe I'll see if I can get up there next year. Because there's a couple shows I haven't done yet that I want to do. I want to do MegaCon. And Toronto would be fun. And so that'd be fun. I don't know if I have enough Bruin shirts left to really make everybody mad. I used to have one after they won the Stanley Cup in 2011. I basically had enough shirts to wear a different one every day of the week. But those are all have all fallen to the ravages of time at this point.
At these conventions, do you still do a lot of commissions?
Art
commissions?
Yeah, I'm always open for commissions at shows. It's fun. I like doing them. I always liken it to the difference between playing an instrument alone in your bedroom and playing an instrument in front of people, because it's, there's a different type of pressure involved. There's usually a time commitment involved, and so you really have to be on your game and focus up a bit to be able to do that. And you want to make sure that the person who's commissioning the drawing is happy, and you want to be happy with what you've done, and so the worst thing that I could possibly do is give someone a commission that I know is not good, and then watch them have to like crocodile smile their way through receiving it. So hopefully that's never happened. But
on your bigcartel.com website right now, you've got your commissions, and then there's your 2025 movie monster book.
Yep.
As well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
$15. That looks like a bargain.
I think so.
Well, I should say pieces for $15.
I should say my mother thinks so. Every time she's like, "You should charge more for this." I'm like, "Yeah, Mom."
You should.
What's with people telling people they need to charge more? The last time Sean was here, he was talking about how other comic creators and agents in particular are telling him he needs to be charging more for his stuff too.
Sure, someone will pay it. Yeah.
But as someone who buys things, no, don't charge more.
Yeah. Well, that's always been one of the hardest things for me is pricing that stuff out, because I don't want you to feel like you're taking a hit, to buy a piece of art or a book or something from me, because that makes me feel bad. I guess it would be different if I was like the most in-demand artist working or whatever, and it's just a byproduct of supply and demand. But like, I want my stuff to be attainable, where everybody feels good about the interaction.
So which do you like more as the creative side, the writing or the drawing?
Usually whatever one I'm not doing. Okay. And it's, that's just how that stuff goes, is when you're in the thick of a project and you're at the hardest part of your project, you're thinking like, if you're drawing a book and you're really dragging your ass through the middle of it, I start thinking, man, I could be writing something right now. And if I'm writing something and I'm at the same point writing, I'm like, I could just be, why am I not drawing something? But I will say I spent most of the last 2 years writing, between Hardstyle Juice and Generation Joker and Red Hood. I did more writing than I did drawing. I didn't draw regular interior comic pages for about 2 years. And when I finished Hardstyle Juice, I was like, I really want to get back to drawing. Like I missed doing it because I hadn't done it in so long. And thankfully, I've got two 4-issue book with Mad Cave that I'm drawing that they just announced called Satanic Panic. And I did a one-shot for a writer named Tom Pinchuk, who's doing a series of one-shots called Clash of the Classics, where he's taking 2 characters from different great works of literature and putting them together in a story. Like the first one he did was Don Quixote fights the War of the Worlds, so that kind of thing. And I did Sherlock Holmes and the Invisible Man, which I think he'll be running a Kickstarter for and should be out sometime later this year.
Satanic Panic, spelled standard?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I'm just throwing that on my pull list right now.
Yep, that just got announced. It's from I don't know if you guys caught the book I did a handful of years ago called Poser. It was a punk rock slasher story, but written by Matt Miner, and he and I are back together to do Satanic Panic, and it's about takes place in the 80s. It's about a bunch of kind of loser metal kids who get framed for these satanic murders, but they know that there is someone or something who is actually committing them, and they have to clear their name before they get overtaken by the mob of angry, scared parents and, conservative zealots and stuff.
And you're doing interiors?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm doing the black and whites for that one.
Nice.
I'm done on my list.
Cool. Thank you.
When does that come out?
I think October.
That sounds perfect.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think the first issue comes out in October.
So what's it like as an artist or a writer when you get that first book in your hand? I know you get previews first, but I mean, when it's actually in your hand, what's that feeling like?
Oh, it's great. I think it's
never to your mom.
Yeah, she always requests one that she is always determined to pay for, but I never let her do it.
You should let her pay for one, but at the price that she demands you charge other people.
Ooh, that's a really good idea. I had not thought about that.
Well, Mom, This is $25.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's always really fun. I think with anything, the more you do it, the more some things land heavier than others. Like I can't say. I would say that the biggest ones for me were when Bloody Hell came out, because I had written and illustrated that all on my own, and it's a nice big oversized hardcover, and A Wave Blue World was so great about putting it out and doing a really great job on it. And that was just I ran the Kickstarter for that, so it was the end of a pretty long road. And the first time I saw my name on a Batman book, you can't really beat that, until the first time I saw my name on the book as a writer and the cover artist, which is still probably the highlight. But yeah, it's always great because you spend so much time doing this stuff, because comics is not a fast moving machine. It takes a long time, and when you finally see the finished product, it's always nice to be have that little bit of achievement. But I probably can speak for myself as well as many other creatives. It can be difficult to look at, because especially if you're in the weeds with the creation of a book and you've read it 50 times, looking at different, proofs and yada, 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 you start to look at all the stuff you don't like more than you look at the stuff you do like. And so I have to remind myself to take a step back when I finally get it in my hands and be like, this is pretty cool, and appreciate it for what it is.
Thank you.
I just want to circle back around there, since we were talking about Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
Issue 1 FOC is October 5th and in store October 28th. Issue 1 of 4.
Oh, okay. There we go.
That sounds like a great book you could take to one of these horror cons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've got a few. Poser is a horror book. Like I said, it's a punk rock slasher book. I did another horror book for IDW a few years ago called Night Moves. That I don't think anybody read, but it was a lot of fun. And it's funny that one I tend to sell that one pretty well at shows. I don't know if it's because it's the one that seems to be the hardest to find or what, but it's people seem to like it.
Now, when you're done with a book, do you sell your original art or do you keep it?
Yeah, I mean, most of it's for sale. Like I don't have like a big infrastructure really for selling that stuff on. You know, it's difficult, right? Because the stuff that's going to bring in the most money on that end is the work that is recognizable IP stuff and characters people know, et cetera, et cetera. So, which I don't have a ton of. I've got some covers, but most of my interiors are from original creator-owned books, so it's not exactly flying off the shelves, or out of my closet rather. But yeah, I have the art with me. It shows the pages for Bloody Hell sell pretty well. Those I've been keeping about half of those. And the original art for the monster stuff has been selling pretty well. People like those. If I'm at a show that I don't have to fly to, so for instance, I might have this in Boston if I have enough room for it at my table. I have a box of $30 pages is it 30? Yeah, $30 a page or 4 for 100. Yeah, 4 for 100. So, and every now and then, people come over and flip through that and grab a few of those. Yeah.
Now, it's been a while since I've heard you say anything on this topic. Do you still have any remaining thoughts of the Bloody Hell sort of sequel book?
Yes. Yeah. So, one of the things that I booted up while I was kind of, before Satanic Panic and the Sherlock Holmes thing came in, where it was I started a Patreon, which I believe is patreon.com/claymack, CLAYMACK. And I did that mainly because I was kind of in a bit of whiplash career-wise, because I had gone from basically having the best year of my career in 2023 to having the worst year of my career in 2025. And that was just like, the way the business goes. People at different companies move on and your contacts kind of fizzle out. And it just seemed like I couldn't get a word from anybody. And so I started the Patreon to be able to keep myself accountable and make sure I was doing stuff and getting stuff out there for people to see. But also I did it as a way to kind of kick myself in the ass to start working on a new original book. And I put out a poll early on to let the patrons vote on which book they wanted me to work on, and the sequel to Bloody Hell was the one that won. So I've been chipping away at that in the background, trying to get that in a place where I can start like showing it to people. Like I want to, through my Patreon, I want to show the process of making it. And even if that includes being stuck, which I currently am a little bit. It's one of those things where I've got all the pieces. I just don't quite have the through line yet. So I've been working on it in the background and trying to get that up and running. But I'm hoping to do that relatively soon. And I'm hoping to do some more writing for some other artists. Travis Mercer and I we've kind of been kicking around an idea for a DC idea that we're going to try and pitch.
And yeah, personally, I would love to see the Bloody Hell sequel come out. Of everything that I've read from you, whether it's been your writing or your art or both, I think Bloody Hell remains my favorite thing.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and I kind of backed myself into having to do a sequel because I'm sure I told the story the last time, but I had never planned on doing a sequel to it. But I was texting my friend about Bloody Hell, and my phone auto corrected it to Bloody Heil, Heil, and I was like, oh man, that's just too good of a title not to use. So yeah, Bloody Heil, the sequel, it's going to be a World War II book, and I've been trying to figure out a way to make it different because World War II and the occult and all that kind of stuff is so well mined territory that what I want to do with it is it's going to be a book about resistance fighters. So the scope might be a little bit smaller, and it's going to be a Christmas book. And the thing I keep telling people, which is why I wanted to do it as a Christmas book, is one of the Vikings from the first book survives all of the mayhem that happens. And he's been living in the woods outside of town for 30 years or 25 years or whatever it is. And all of the kids think that he's Santa Claus.
Oh, that's smart.
So,
Surprise.
yeah. So eventually Santa, quote unquote, Father Christmas has to come in swinging his axe to destroy whatever the monster is.
Looking like Krampus.
Yeah. Krampus will be involved in some sort as well. Yeah.
Oh,
there we go. Now, for those who haven't read it, maybe people came to you through your other work. Elevator pitch of Bloody Hell, so people can know they should check that out.
Sure. Bloody Hell is about 5 mystically powered Vikings who've been imprisoned for 1,000 years. They're set loose when their prison is destroyed by an artillery shell from World War I. So they get set loose, all juiced up on magic, and start wreaking havoc during the First World War.
And it's just madness.
Thank you.
And
that's the kind of response I like
in that book. Yeah, and the art in that book is so good. Like there were pages. I remember when that book was first coming out, there were pages from the comic that I was using as my phone background.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Why can't the Vikings get unleashed in a hockey game?
I mean, they could. I mean, one of the things I had been kicking around as an idea was kind of using Bloody Hell as sort of almost like a Tales from the Crypt type overarching thing that I could tell other stories through. And sort of like a Bloody Hell Presents kind of thing. And so, I mean, yeah, you never know. I mean, I was going to have the character of Hell, the goddess Hell, kind of be like the Crypt Keeper character who you kind of see at the beginning, at the end to introduce the story and whatnot. Because I had come up with, I had when I say I had the chance, I mean, this is like the faintest of chances to pitch an Evil Dead movie. And so I had come up with this thing called Operation Evil Dead, which was an Evil Dead story that took place in World War II. And it didn't end up going anywhere, but I have the whole pitch is all completed. And I was looking at it, I was like, this is pretty, I kind of like this. And maybe I'll do this as a comic. And I was thinking, well, if I put the Bloody Hell banner on it, that kind of, it'd be one of those things that I can use the name Bloody Hell to kind of shepherd out there as a different story.
I've seen where, comic writers have also gone over to the prose medium and they'll write like a novel. Do you have any thoughts on maybe doing a novel with Bloody Hell or anything like that?
In the back of my mind, I've got a everybody's got their great American novel they want to write. As I was the horror podcast that I do, the Rotten Horror Picture Show, our Patreon shows, we started doing our Patreon shows as going through entire franchises. And the first one that we did was the Friday the 13th franchise, which is very nice for Patreon because it gives us 12 movies we can cover over the course of a year, but very frustrating for my own OCD brain because there's only 12 movies in the Friday the 13th series, which breaks my brain. But there's 13 Halloween movies. Anyway. As we were going through the Friday the 13th series, I kind of was sort of forming my own understanding of what I considered the character of Jason to be. And I kind of started to see him as this sort of tulpa that gets created by the lake whenever it needs to push people out, sort of. And so I kind of started kicking that idea around, and I kind of expanded into this idea. So that was the germ of it. And I was like, well, maybe, you know what? If I was going to do this, I would probably do it as a novel, because I was thinking about like jumping back and forth in time periods and stuff, and which would probably get too complicated as a comic. But yeah, so, you know, I'm sure everybody, every creative, every comic book artist or writer or creative in general has 5 or 6 or 7 ideas that they'd love to do, but they're on the shelf. We'll see if it ever gets taken down, you know?
Right. Exactly.
And it's fun when something can originate as a pitch for one thing and then just find its own path to existing, you know, completely elsewhere.
Yeah, because, you know, sometimes that stuff, whatever you I think there's like an organic way to do it and kind of a cynical way to do it. And sometimes, you know, the cynical idea is, well, we couldn't get this made as a movie, so we'll do it as a comic and blah, blah, blah. That's a little bit more cynical than coming up with whatever your thing is, whatever your idea is, and then recognizing that it doesn't fit the medium you thought you were going to do it in, but it actually fits much better as a different medium, you know, whether that be a novel or a short film or as a comic or anything like that, or a concept album. That'd be fun.
And look at how The Last of Us started. That originated as a pitch that Neil Druckmann gave for I think in college to George Romero.
No kidding.
For a, you know, a possible Night of the Living Dead world video game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
George hated it, and a decade later it was a video game.
Well, I don't know how old he is, but I'm assuming he's probably somewhere around my age, because I feel like anybody who was creatively minded and into horror, the first time they heard about that spore that turns ants into like zombies, we all had the same idea. At least I'm happy one of us got there.
Well, I think that we've come to a natural stopping point in the conversation.
Hey, if you want me to, I'll just keep talking. But
hey, that was an apt ending. But we got to talk about Hardstyle Juice, which is why we wanted to have you back on here to talk about that. We also got to pick your brain about Bloody Hell. I've just learned, I don't know how I had missed it, about Satanic Panic, so I've got that added to my pull list. Everyone add it to yours as well. I just saw the cover art for issue 1 there. Very interested in that one now. Anything else you want to drop out there before we let you get back to life?
No, I don't think so. Thank you guys for all the support, everybody listening and checking out all the work that I put out there, and hope to keep telling stories you guys like.
I also want to plug your website for your artwork, where people can get the alpha beat down sketchbook and interior comic pages, commissions, and covers. It's at claymack.bigcartel.com.
Mm-hmm.
So you can always reach out to Clay there and get an awesome piece of art.
And if you're interested in the ins and outs of creating stuff, you can, my Patreon, like I said, is kind of like where I dump the interior of my brain and the new artwork I'm doing. And that's at patreon.com/claymack, I believe.
Perfect.
I probably should have looked that up before I said it, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
Close enough. Well, that was Clay McCormack. This was Bat Force Radio. Thank you for joining us again, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Clay.